Oh, this is gonna be a long episode. I just want to go to bed. Hello, everyone. My name's Stonsey Boy, and welcome back to Reading with Stonsey. Today we are reading pages 65 to 86, chapter 6 to chapter 7. Again, very long episode. Don't really want to record it because, obviously, but, the show must go on, and as it must go on, we shall too. So, without further ado, let's begin. Chapter 6 Overconfidence. The chicken was delectable, but it wasn't completely filling. Your turn, I told the egg, to which the egg could have answered, That's what you think. Ever heard that expression, you can't make an omelet without breaking a few eggs? Well, here's a world's version, you can't make an omelet. You can fit the egg in the furnace. You can't crack it into a bowl. You can't even step on it, so much as walking on eggshells. As a last resort, I tried tossing it into the air and hit it with a stick, but before I could swing, the incredible inedible egg flew across the room, hit a wall, and disintegrated like a clump of tall grass. Great, I grumbled just as my fire winked out. Darkness returned along with my irrational fears. Peering into the furnace's lower sly, I saw it still had a few more untouched planks of wood. Why weren't they burning? Did the furnace only work when it had something to heat? Shivering with cold and nerves, I rifled through my belt and pack for something else to burn. The first thing I grabbed happened to be a block of sand. Thankfully, the furnace accepted my offering, giving me light heat in a few seconds, a whole new modern convenience. I should have known what I was making. Back in my world, it was everywhere. Every building, every home, every vehicle. Even other people's eyes used to help them see better. It was just one of the most vital components of human civilization. I had no idea how it was made. Not until I pulled the smooth, clear block from the furnace did I realize that heating sand got you glass. Dolt, I murmured, punching out a hole in the wall and replacing it with a transparent cube. Did you ever ask where anything comes from? What an amazing thing a window is. It gives you the freedom to see the outside world, but the security of knowing what that world wouldn't come in. At least, that's what I hoped. In zombie stories back home, people always board up windows with the first thing of the living dead. Would I have to do that when my own cubed corpses showed up? For now, I could hear any ghouls, and I couldn't see any through my new south-facing window. That's when I realized I placed it in the wrong side. My garden, the only thing worth looking at, was north of my hut. I started punching the glass, expecting it to pop out and hover like all the other blocks. Instead, it shattered like an egg. Oops, I said. No problem. I have a whole beach worth of sand right outside. If I'd been more cautious or timid, or even just a little more patient, I might have made a smart choice and waited for the dawn. But did I? The night had gone so well, I've been racking up so many wins. Fire, cooked food, and now glass for windows. For the first time since landing, I felt fully in control of my situation. I was becoming overconfident, and that's what got me into trouble. I'll just make a torch, I thought, holding a stick up at the furnace. Monsters gotta be afraid of fire. Then the stick refused to catch. I should have taken it as a sign to stop and think, but did I? The glow from the cabin's gotta be enough to keep everything away, I reasoned. Sauntering towards the moonlight shore, shovel in hand, trying to whistle through my thin, fat lips, I couldn't wait to make all the kinds of cocky mistakes, and I made a ton. Instead of digging right outside my door, I chose a spot halfway up the beach. Instead of gathering a few cubes and dashing back, I kept going until I dug myself into a hole. Instead of keeping my eyes and ears open long after the fire died in my cabin, I might add, I fantasized about all the cool things I could build up with the glass. A skylight or wrap around windows, or maybe in a greenhouse if I dug up enough sand. Zzz, a sharp, rasping hiss yanked me out of my nighttime daydreams. I froze, looking up. Zzz, came the sound again, gripping my gut as I recalled terror. A time rasped as I heard the first night of the forest, and then I seen those terrible eyes. There they were again, passing right over me, a cluster of small glowing rubies embedded in a black cow-sized eight-legged beast. Spider! Before I could run, move, or think, it jumped into a hole with me, snapping jaws toward my chest. I toppled backward, grabbing my shovel. The spider pounced. I dodged. It spun, and another strike. I scrambled frantically out of the pit. Zzz! Scratching legs behind me, coming up fast. My axe, back in the cabin, too far. Zzz! Right on the leg. Pain, fear. I reached into my belt for something, anything, sand, but no, nothing but sand. Maybe if I could lay a roof, if I could trap it underground. I reached for the top and the spider on my heels. I turned and hit it with a block of sand, and then placed the block on the hole's edge. But the sand didn't stick. It fell. Zzz! Hissed the predator as the tan cube crashed into its head. I placed another falling block, and then another and another. The spider hissed angrily, pinned under more and more debris. I didn't know what I was doing any harm. I just wanted to keep it buried long enough to escape. The fire rasped. I kept going. It flashed red. I kept going. The nightmare hunter gave me a final enraged hiss, then poofed away in a puff of white smoke. For a moment I watched in disbelief, panting in my wounds healed, my stomach growled, and my brain absorbed the new realization. Too much overconfidence can be dangerous as having none at all. Vibrating with adrenaline, I looked hastily around for more creatures. Nothing stirred in the beach, hill, or sea. I rushed back down to the pit to get my shovel, and on the way out I felt something hop into my back. and I didn't know what it was until I had gotten the safety back in the cabin and thrown the remaining sand blocks into the fire. The spider had left me going away present, a short, sticky string of silk. I examined the strand for a few seconds, trying to think of some use for it. Then the last plank of the furnace burned out. Ah, nuts, I gripped, and reached into the storage chest for more wood. I noticed there wasn't too many planks left, not compared to all the worthless saplings stored next to them. And then I hit it on when I thought was a brilliant idea. I slid a dozen or so green mini trees into the furnace, and they promptly blazed to life. Way to rate stench your resources, I thought, a self-congratulatory smile. I thought I was being so clever. I had no idea I was creating nothing short of an environmental tragedy that would come back to haunt me later. That night, as the little green saplings crackled brightly, I couldn't have been more chuffed. Mission accomplished, I said. Hoisting my stone-tipped pickaxe, the addition of light allowed me to start thinking about how I wanted a finished room to look. Given my height and the space I needed for modern conveniences, crafting table, storage chest, and furnace, I imagined a 7x7 block area and raised ceiling for hopping victory dances, and I felt like I was doing that dance tonight. And my emotional roller coaster took another dive. However, when the furnace fizzled out in a little more than a minute, so soon, I grumbled, seeing the saplings were all gone. There had been so many, and they lasted maybe a third as long as the wood. Good riddance, I thought, tossing in the rest of the planks. I can cut down more trees tomorrow, I thought. Right now, what I need is light. The key word was need. I already started this evening with an overwhelming fear of the dark, but now even a giant spider attack and the discovery of fire wouldn't let the night back in. What happened next was nothing short of a race, a tense, sweaty frenzy of the keeping shelter illuminated. At first I thought I was doing all right, until the last of the sand melted in the glass. Cobblestone, I thought. Going back to the first material I'd used to discover fire. I didn't care what the end result was, the exact material, but now it's cleared away. It was a process that kept me warm and safe, but I only just gotten back to work when the last of the planks died out. More wood, I hissed, looking over the hut's plank-top slab ceiling. Hastily walling off the bunker to the shack, I started chopping the ladder's wooden roof. I tried not to think about what would happen if the creature found me so exposed. I needed more fuel, more light. What I really needed was to snap out of my funk and remember the mantra about panic drowning thought, as well as the new one that applies to all the others. It's not wisdom that counts, but wisdom under pressure. Stoking the furnace's bottom slot, I rushed to pick up more cobblestone for the top. I had to keep a balance going. So, how much longer until dawn? The last plank fizzled. I tore right through my pack for something to burn. I threw the trapdoors, regular doors, that thin, flat pressure plate thing, even a little push button that didn't last more than a few seconds. When I started burning my tools, just the wooden ones, I promised. I don't need them anyway. But once they were gone, I returned to the stone versions. I went to the shovel, then the hoe, and finally the axe, all fed the winding flames in my ever-growing mania. Ironically, it was my mania that kept me from throwing in my last two wooden items I had. A couple of standard sticks. Since they cracked, torn, and stone-tipped pickaxe looked about ready to break, I thought I might need to make another one to collect more cobblestone for the furnace. Whichever goes first, I thought. Hammering for the bunker's back wall. If the flames go first, I'll use the sticks. If the pickaxe snaps, then the fire died. The darkness returned, but the final second of fading light. As the block of stone flew from the wall, I thought I could see something different behind it. Were black spots embedded in its face? Blindly picking away, I heard a crack of a successful strike. But then instead of a few rocks flying into my pack, I got a small, hard, black lump. It didn't feel familiar. It was not a sense of memory that first dirt block I smelled. This is more distant, like I heard the substance without ever having seen it up close. Wasn't there a natural resource that my people have been pulling out of the ground for centuries? Had it been controversial, dirty and dangerous, but also plentiful and cheap? Not oil. Oil is a liquid. This might be coal, I said to the lump. Are you coal? I placed it in the furnace's lower slot and stood back as the flare shot up. Right up. Coal or not, I said with a grin, I'll take it. By its guiding light, I rushed over to the original mining point and found an identical black fleckled block. Picking out the nodule, I hurried back to the furnace. I didn't have to. The first coal fire kept burning, and burning and burning. At this rate, I would last at least 5 times as long as normal would, and all on its own without me having to strike a match. That last thought gave me the idea to try to make another torch. Luckily, I still had those 2 sticks for making a backup pickaxe. I held one up to the furnace, and just like I did the other in the night, hopefully this brighter, hotter coal-fueled blaze would be able to make a milder wood fire couldn't. Just like before, the stick wouldn't catch. I'd run out of luck, but not ideas. Thinking about the world's rule combination materials, I placed the stick in the center square of the crafting table, and the second lump of coal above it. Here we go, I chimed as 4 large match-shaped torches jumped in my hand. Let there be light. Feeling as the smartest person in the world, which might actually be the case if the world had no other people, I bounced back over the still burning furnace and exuberantly held a torch up to the flames. And once again, well, you get it. Grr, I growled, in a tone that would make any zombie proud. What's missing? I knew the torch had to work eventually. This world wouldn't let me make it otherwise, would it? And I just had to find the missing part of the equation. Was some kind of igniter I had not yet learned to craft? Or maybe it's not what I need, a new device, I said, remembering my experience with the hoe. Maybe it's how I'm using this one. I thought about how, given how fire worked in my world, maybe it hadn't given the torch time to catch. Just like with the sticks, I held it against the flames for only a few seconds. Maybe it needed a lot longer. I tried again and leaned the coal-tipped cudgel against the furnace, and this time I counted a full 60 seconds, maybe longer. I wondered, but saw I was running out of time. The flames were dying. I couldn't have more than another minute. I have to use a precious light to try and dig for more coal. Reaching for my pickaxe, I decided just to spur in the moment to place the torch on the ground next to the furnace. Who knows? Maybe there's still a chance of reading heat would do its trick. Slim to know, but it was still better than just sitting in my belt. At the moment I set the torch down, the flickering firebox I had sparked into a brilliant incandescence. What? I sputtered, reaching for the smoky little flame. The torch went out the moment I grabbed it, and then reignited when I set it back down. How? I asked incredulously, picking it up and sticking it to the wall, which caused it to spark again. How could a torch spontaneously combust and then down, and the switch on and off like a flashlight? The only answer I had is sheer acceptance of the fact that just because the rules don't make sense, it doesn't mean that they don't make sense. And this time, I couldn't have happier about it. Not only did the torches work anywhere I set them, not only did they extinguish the moment I put them away, not only did I not have to worry about burning myself because they gave off no heat, by far their most welcome, spectacular, completely nonsensical trait was the ability to burn forever. You heard me, forever. Forget physics, forget logic, forever. Long after the furnace went cold, I watched them continue to keep a bunker as bright as day. Now this, I thought it was nothing short of awe. This awesome thing. I'm pretty sure this even my world doesn't have. It might have seemed easy back home, just flicking on a light switch and going into business, but flickering a switch meant a power plant somewhere was using up some kind of stored fuel. Even a renewable energy I remember hearing when I needed a natural source. Sunlight or wind or waves. Not here, not these. Yes, I needed more coal to make more torches, but once I did, they burn as long as the stars. No more darkness, I sang. No more night. You my victory dance, I hopped and spun without a hideout. Around my hideout. No more darkness, no more night, no more terror, no more fright. I stopped at the bunker's door, blinking the daylight now shining through. Ha! I chuckled happily, realizing my night-long battle had lasted well into the day. I stepped outside into the walled courtyard of the half-demolished shack, looking at first at where my wooden door used to be before I burned into a craze. I sprinted up the rising sun. I noticed until a moment that the world looked right at the sun without damaging my eyes. I couldn't help feeling like there was some kind of reason for it. Don't worry, I told the warm, welcome square. I wouldn't need you tonight. I just went back inside, punched a wall-mounted torch into my hand, and then carried it back outside. You can rest easy now, I said, holding the torch up to the sun. I'm done being afraid of the dark. Chapter 7. Take life in steps. Smiling up at the sun, my stomach brought me back down to the earth. I wasn't too hungry yet, but now I had left. The search for food had been today's goal. First seeds planted were higher than in the others. Not much, but enough for me to try harvesting them. People ate sprouts, right? Alfalfa fruits, Brussels sprouts, and maybe there was some kind of... I didn't get to finish the thought. The second I touched the shoots, they turned right back into seeds. All right, I thought, putting back on the ground, so they need a little more time. No big deal. There'll still have to be more apple trees, I reckon. Picking up my way up the hill, I just haven't looked hard enough. I poked my head over the top and came face to face with another giant spider. Gah! I gasped, instinctively jumped back. Out of control, I toppled down the hill, bounced off a rock, and heard a sickening snap, and landed hard on the sand below. Pain shot through my leg as I hobbled back to safety in my bunker. This isn't right, I thought, slamming the door behind me. This is daytime. Peering through the door's opening, I waited for the flash of legs and eyes. They never came. I opened the door nervously, tried to look in all directions, and took a tentative step outside. And the first step scared me more than any spider. My ankle still hurt. My hyper healing wasn't working. Of course, I should have expected that my stomach was empty, but now to actually have it happen, it was terrifying. Worry rose up in a bubble of realization. I was just more of a mere mortal now. Any major injury, any accident, a monster attack would be the end. I tried putting weight on my injured leg. White, not hot nails of pain jabbed through my ankle. What was I going to do now? If I couldn't outrun the spider, just one of these vicious bites would finish me. But if I stayed where I was, if I didn't eat, didn't heal, and I ended up just as dead, gathering a battered, nearly broken pickaxe and what little nerve I had left, I limped carefully out onto the beach. Nothing stirred up on the hill. I listened for the anarchist's familiar hiss, silence. This time, instead of climbing back up to the cliff, I thought of being safer to swim around it. I paddled slowly past the southern slope, keeping my eyes fixed to the summit. I got halfway around the hill and I spied the tips of two black legs. I froze in place, treading water slowly and quietly as I could. The spider crawled deeply into the view, its cherry red sensors locked on me. I swam backward, ready to make open water, but if that thing didn't swim, maybe I'd have a chance to double back on another part of the island. I got a few strokes away before I realized the arachnid wasn't coming for me. For a moment, we remained frozen, silently trading stares. Clearly it saw me, so why wasn't it attacking? Did the light blind it? Or was it something to do with the day itself? Were spiders only hostile at night? We watched each other for another few moments before the eight-legged horde just up and disappeared. No fire, no smoke. On the second, it was there and the next gone. I swam back to shore, my mind flooded with question. Why had it disappeared without burning? Why didn't it dangerous in the daylight? And why had it lasted the daylight after all the zombies have burned? Limping back to the southern beach, I wondered if the creepers had also lasted longer than zombies. And if that was the reason, and nearly killed by one, I scanned the dense line of trees, making sure none of them were mottled green. I didn't see any creepers, thankfully. But notice how dark had shaded the wood was. Had a creeper been sheltering in the sun? If that was true, and if there are any monsters hiding under those leaves, then that'd be the last place I'd look for food. I lived west along the southern shoreline, looking for shellfish or even seaweed. The beach was completely barren. For the first time, I also noticed I hadn't seen any fish, or whales, or seals, or anything aquatic besides that sinister squid. Coming around the edge of the island's southern claw, I saw what the water of the lagoon was lifeless as the open sea. Squishing across the soft clay bottom, I climbed up onto the northern claw, looked down to the beach, and spied a plant I'd never seen before. It had stalks, 3 actually, that were light green and tall, growing right on the seaside sand. Bamboo! I exclaimed, hopping painfully over. People ate bamboo, right? Wasn't it on some menus as bamboo shoots? If it wasn't mature season, then I would surely find a way to replant it and eat the shoots. I took one swipe of the lowest section, and unlike trees, the whole stalk came tumbling down. Collecting the 3 sections in my left hand, I saw the image of grainy white pail in my right. Sugar, I said happily. This isn't bamboo, it's sugar cane. After so many failed attempts with the egg, I should have at least half expected the new food didn't want to be eaten. Fine, whatever, I pouted, stuffing the pile into the 2 remaining stalks in my pack. Bad for my teeth anyway. Trying to stay positive, I wondered if my sugar might still be useful when combined with other ingredients, but what? I couldn't see anything else that remotely reminded me of food. No berry bushes, no mushrooms. There wasn't even worms or bugs, and believe me, in the state I was in, I would have gladly munched them down. I even tried nibbling a few red and yellow flowers growing in the edge of the woods. Not only did they not oblige, but holding them in my left hand gave me the option of turning them into useless dye. What else can go wrong? I grumbled, just as it began to rain. Had to ask. I moped the warm, bright drizzle perfectly matching my mood. Limping tensely through the forest, my eyes flicked this way and that. I tried to keep my attention to the trees themselves and that would be lurking around them. It didn't help when I passed a crater that almost been my grave. Strangely enough, it had not been filled up with water, even though a steady stream was flowing in. Even the water here is weird, I muttered, and moved on to try to find an apple tree, which I didn't. The only trees left growing on the island had muted leaves in black and white and bark, which had kind of reminded me of birches. I couldn't find a single apple tree, which I now called oaks, because I didn't know what to think of apples anymore. I had always taken for granted whether there might be at least one more oak tree nestled somewhere in the forest. I figured and hoped that I just wasn't looking hard enough. Now I'd run out of excuses, and there was nowhere left to go but forward. Maybe these birches also have fruit, I wondered, grasping at straws, which, by the way, I could have also been tried to eat. Maybe they could have got nuts or acorns or something. With growing desperation, I punched out a few blocks of the nearest tree, whipped out a crafting table and a stone axe. I laid it into the birches around me, and the madman swinging the trunks and leaves. Nothing came down for except more logs and white fleckless sapling. That's okay, I said, trying to stay cool. Maybe each species has fewer nuts, and that's all, and just have to keep looking. Pocketing the logs, I placed the useless sapling on the ground, and gave it a startled shout that suddenly grew up in front of me. Chopping down that one turned into a fruitless as well. Maybe this one, I grunted, turning to the next birch. Or maybe this one. Frustration going into fear, I cut away the forest. This one, I huffed, getting halfway through another tree and the axe snapped. Twisting back to my crafting table, I forgot about the injured leg. Agonizing sparks erupted from my ankle. I slumped against the half-cut tree, choking back tears, waiting for the throbbing seas. I could deal with the injury, but not with the pain. How could anybody? Feeling as the way every minute of every day? How could you not go crazy? Isn't that why my world had a whole shelf of different pain pills? Even if you weren't better, at least you felt that way. And right now, that's all I wanted. Make it stop, I whispered. Please, please, make it stop. Cluck, 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 came from the sad approaching chicken. Get out of here, I barked, waving a knowing bird away. The chicken looked up for me a second, laid another unbreakable egg, then stubbornly pecked at the grass at my feet. Beat it, I growled, waving my hands in front of its face. I didn't need this right now, and I didn't need another creature to eat. I didn't need to be reminded how delicious cooked chicken tasted. Come on now, I mean it, I commanded, shuffling over to my crafting table, and he continued to follow me, pecking away until his clucking rang in my ears. Go, I shouted, my fist clocking in his beak. Bagok, barked the word, spitting away the flash of red. I didn't mean, I started, guilt quickly replacing anger. Moo, came a friendly sound to my right. I looked over familiar eyes of the cow, and those eyes, their serene face, I found the centering I needed. I know, I sighed. I gotta get a hold of myself. Moo, it agreed. I gotta remember, I continued, that no one's ever died of a twisted ankle, and sprouts grow into food, and they'll take care of that. And again, the cow gave me an agreeable moo. I could feel myself calming down, my breathing returning to normal. Here I am, acting like it was my first day when, well, look at all the progress I made since then. I gotta remember that progress, and now I vow I made to you the day I almost lost the sea. Moo, said the cow, which prompted a quick correction. Okay, maybe it wasn't you. Maybe it was your friend I was talking to who got killed by the creeper. I'm sorry about the snake thing, by the way. But you know, I was hungry and I was already dead, and, well, anyway, back to the vow. I started pacing it. It was just like the first day with the cow, albeit a pronounced shuffle. Told myself that I had to figure out all the rules of the world, and how I get it now. I've got to go further, and I got to figure out rules for myself. Moo? Asked the bovine foil. No, I don't mean the lessons I've been learned. I said, or having grand strategy like we talked about. I need a methodical way to achieve that strategy. A detailed discipline, a specific step in each individual task. I stopped and turned my good heel. I know what I got. I know that's a lot of big words, and that they boil down is what I need to know, not just what I have to do, but how I'm going to do it. Moo, chimed the cow. Actually, getting to what I was saying. Isn't that what gets people through life back in my world? I asked. They get up every day and already know what they're going to face that day? That's what I need. As the cow took a quick grass break, I kept pontificating. Food, shelter, safety. So I got shelter, food. Well, I just figured out there's nothing else left to eat on this island other than sprouts which need time to grow. But safety, I held up my wounded foot. Whole reason I'm all panicked about food is because I can't hyperheal anymore, and I couldn't need to if I knew about creatures that can hurt me. Moo, said the cow. I'd look for. Okay, I'm with you. But what does that have to do with our new method? I'm starting to get to that, I said. If I can study the creatures from the safe place and figure out where they came from, how do they hunt, and how long have they lasted until the sun comes up, I can keep out of trouble long enough to handle on food. At that moment, the rain ceased. I looked up at the sun, then down at the hill, and then back over the cow. I discovered how to make glass, so I built another room on the side of the hill and safely studied the creatures. And that, I held up a triumphant fist, is where the method for the way comes into play. Bah, said a white sheep ambling over us. Will you explain it to him? I asked the cow, limping back toward the hill. Behind me, I could hear the sheep's confused baa and the cow's exasperated moo. Take it in steps, I shouted over my shoulder. I gotta take life in steps. Take it in steps. If we were to all take things such as life in steps, I think the world would be a lot more slower and less of it being more efficient. But, you know, it'd still be life all the same. What won't be the same is that today we read pages 65 to 86, chapters 6 to 7, a total of 21 pages. So not a lot, or a lot, or one more than normal. But it wasn't so bad. Just hurt my voice and made me want to cry, and made me cry, and but that's okay. Because next episode we should be pretty easy, because we're going to be reading pages 87 to 99, so close to that triple digit, and just regular old chapter 8. How interesting. What's even more interesting is that it's time for Reading Corner of the Day. Doing it up Stonsey's way, Pop. Today we are learning about the Harrier. Like I said, it feels like I've learned about this exact I've talked about this exact dog 8 times, but I think it's just cuz a lot of the hounds have the same color pattern. And that's just because of how they were bred. So I think maybe there is one base hound and all of these others are kind of a counterfeit. I guess that's the best way of explaining it, because I swear I've talked about this dog before, but I guess I haven't, because now we're on page 78, which is the Harrier, and next time we're going to be on page 80, where we're going to be talking about that type of dog. And yeah, it's just going to be weird. Like this dog. This dog is very weird. But before I can have a major opinion on anything, or make fun of anything, or have a joking opinion on something, I should understand where it's coming from, learn its history, not only for its own credibility and, just so I don't make fun of something for the sake of making fun of it, but also because, well, let's face it, it makes you look smarter, makes you look more credible, and just makes you, smart, and makes you, teach a fun fact to your mom, your dad, your grandma, your grandpa, or your pet Harrier. Who knows? So the history of the Harrier is that the word Harrier was Norman for dog or hound, so that it's difficult to unravel the ancient history of the Harrier from the history of hounds in general. Nonetheless, the Harrier may be one of the older scent hounds still in existence today, with references dating to the 13th century England. They probably stem from the long-extinct Talbot and St. Hubert hounds, and perhaps the Bracket and later the French Basset. This line produced a dog that tracked hare by scent at a pace that enabled hunters to fall on foot. Thus, although Harrier packs were kept in the gentry, poorer hunters without horses could also hunt with Harriers, often combining a few dogs in each individual to have a form an impromptu pack. Smaller English foxhounds may have been bred with these dogs in the early 1800s to develop a longer-legged, faster dog that's also capable of running with mounted hunters. The Harrier has also been known in America since colonial times. Despite its classic proportions, and handy size, it has never been popular as a shore dog or pet. Interesting. So it's not popular, but it's kind of like the dog you supplemented in. It's a substitute good, which is a good that's found in economics that could be replaced for something else. For example, if you see, I don't know, Oreos are $10, and you see Jorios, which is, Oreos but ripped off and tastes the exact same for $5, that could be a substitute. And as such is a substitute good. There's your economy lesson of the day. Doing it up Stonesey's way, Bob. But now you want to know the temperament of the Harrier. Why are you talking about the economy, Stonesey? I don't know. Couldn't tell you. I'm just in a teaching mood today. Well, the temperament of the Harrier is that the Harrier is somewhat more playful and outgoing than the Foxhound, but not as much as the Beagle. It is animable, tolerant, and good with children. At first, love is for the hunt, and love for the sniff and trail. It needs daily exercise in a safe area, most reserved with strangers, and tends to bay. Some may bay or bark if bored or lonely. Oh, it's asking for attention. That's adorable. So now you know about this adorable dog and its adorable ways. So how do I keep this up? How do I keep it from not barking and baying? Well, your upkeep for a Harrier should be that it needs daily exercise, but it needs to be met with a long walk or jog with a vigorous game in the yard. It can live outdoors in temperate climates as long as it's given warm shelter and bedding. The coat is easily cared for, needing only occasional brushing to remove dead hair. Harriers are very gregarious pack hounds, and as much do not do well if left alone for long periods. Most are the happiest with another dog to play with. You get this dog, you gotta get it a friend. If you get it a friend, you gotta get it an outfit. You get the deal. It's like Barbies. I don't know why I said that, but anyone who knows what a Barbie is, please cover your ears, for you might be a child. To any teenagers or adults, please keep your ears open, as we must talk about the health. In my opinion, the worst part about owning a dog is knowing their end. So, the health of the Harrier is that its major concerns are CHD, minor concerns are none, occasionally seen with epilepsy, perennial fistula. Their suggested tips are for the hips and the eyes. Their lifespan is 12 to 14 years. No special note needed. Now, what is the form and function of this dog? Imagine not seeing this dog. What is its form and what does it function as a dog? Well, the form and function of the Harrier is the smaller version of the English Foxhound. See? Told you we've talked about this dog before. More suited for hunting hares. It has a large bone for its size and a slightly longer tail. It is a scenting pack hound that can be capable of running at other dogs, scenting its quarry, and hunting tirelessly over any terrain for long periods. It has gentle expression with a relaxed and alert and aroused. When aroused, the coat is short and hard. Now, for the final part of this episode, the tier list. Now, let me give it. 5 is the best, 4 is better, 3 is average, 2 is worse, 1 is the worst unless it comes to grooming. So, the energy level, the exercise requirements are both at a 4. It can do a lot of things, but it also needs to be outdoors. The playfulness and affection level are both at a 3. Basically, you gotta play with it. You know what I mean? Well, the friendliness towards dogs is at a 5, alright? Means it does good with other puppy dogs and it'll be just fine. Friendliness towards other pets is also at a 3. Friendliness towards strangers, strangely, is at a 4, don't you see? Well, you don't, but ease of training is at a 2. Oh no. Watchdog abilities out of 5. It'll watch you full show. Protection abilities out of 1, but good news, so is grooming requirements. The cold and heat tolerance are at 3, and that's not the pits. The height of a male is 45 to 60 pounds, and a female is 35 to 45 pounds. The height of both male and female is 19 to 21 inches. So, yeah. I hope you guys have a super fantastic, wonderful day. Be polite, be efficient. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And, yeah. Without further ado. Oh, yeah, right. We must know what the heck dog we're learning about next time. Well, the dog we'll be learning about next time is the one you'll be learning about in the next episode. So, hope you guys have a super fantastic, wonderful day. Be polite, be efficient. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And I'll see you guys next time.